No one would give a eulogy at my cruel grandma's funeral. So I made up a nice story. Welcome back with a new real shock story. Before we start, comment and tell me which city you're watching from. ATV end, don't forget to subscribe and rate it from 0 to 10. Let's enjoy the story, everyone.
You know, they say love is blind, but no one tells you how painful it feels when the blindfold comes off. My name is Alic Rose, and this is the story of how the man I trusted most turned my world upside down with just one message. It started like any other quiet Sunday morning. I woke up to the sound of rain tapping gently on my window. The room smelled like coffee and lavender, the kind of peace I used to love. I remember smiling, thinking how lucky I was to have someone like Ryan in my life. He was charming, caring, and he always said the right things. We'd been together for 3 years, and I truly believed he was the one. I made breakfast pancakes, his favorite, and waited for him to text me like he always did. Good morning, beautiful. But that text never came. At first I thought maybe he was busy. He worked long hours, and I didn't want to be one of those clingy girlfriends who panic over a missed message. But something felt off. You ever get that strange feeling in your chest? The one that tells you something is wrong, even when everything looks fine. That's what I felt that morning. Hours passed. No text, no call, no reply. By evening, I couldn't take it anymore. I called him once, twice, 3 times, no answer. Then, around 10 p.m., my phone buzzed. Finally, I grabbed it, expecting it to be Ryan, but it wasn't. It was a message from an unknown number, and it had a photo. My heart skipped. I opened it, and for a few seconds, I couldn't breathe. It was Ryan sitting in a restaurant, holding another girl's hand. Her face was turned slightly, but I could still see her smile. It wasn't just any girl. It was Lena, my best friend. My hands started shaking. I remember whispering, "No, this can't be real." My first instinct was denial. Maybe it was old, maybe it was a misunderstanding. But then, another message came. "You deserve to know the truth. He's been seeing her for months." That's when my whole world went silent. You know that feeling when the air feels heavy, and your heart beats so loud it echoes in your ears? That's what I felt. I stared at that picture again and again, hoping my eyes were lying, but they weren't. I didn't cry right away. I just sat there, frozen. Every laugh, every promise, every I love you replayed in my head like scenes from a movie, and suddenly, they didn't mean anything. Minutes turned into hours. I didn't know what to do, scream, cry, or call him. But I knew one thing. I needed answers. The next morning, I went to his apartment. I didn't even knock. The door was slightly open, like it was waiting for me. Inside, everything looked the same. His shoes by the door, his jacket on the couch, except there was something different. A woman's perfume lingered in the air, not mine. And then, I saw it, a small gold bracelet on the coffee table. It wasn't mine either. That was it. All the pieces started falling into place. The late night calls, the sudden work trips, the distant tone in his voice. I had ignored all of it because I wanted to believe he loved me. When he walked in and saw me standing there, his face turned pale. "Alic, what are you doing here?" he said, trying to sound calm. I looked at him, and for the first time, I didn't see the man I loved. I saw a stranger. "Who is she, Ryan?" I asked quietly. He froze. "What are you talking about?" I showed him the picture on my phone. He stared at it for a long time, then looked away. That silence, it told me everything I needed to know. "You could have told me," I whispered. "You didn't have to lie." He sighed, running a hand through his hair. "It wasn't supposed to happen like this, Alic. You and I, we were just what?" I interrupted. "A game, a backup plan." He didn't answer, and that silence, it broke me more than his betrayal ever could. For the first time in 3 years, I saw the truth. The man who said he loved me had been loving someone else behind my back. Someone who was supposed to be my sister in everything but blood. I left that apartment without another word. As I walked away, the rain started again, soft, steady, and almost cruelly peaceful. Each drop felt like it was washing away the life I thought I had. When I got home, I finally cried. Not because I lost him, but because I lost myself somewhere in his lies. That night, I deleted his number, blocked his social media, and threw away every picture of us. But no matter what I did, I couldn't delete the memories. They played over and over in my mind like a broken record. And the worst part, it wasn't just about Ryan anymore. It was about Lena. Because deep down, I knew this betrayal ran deeper than I could imagine, and the truth was just getting started. The next few days felt like a blur. I moved through time like a ghost, silent, numb, pretending to be okay when I wasn't. Every morning I told myself I was fine, but deep down, something inside me was burning. It wasn't just heartbreak, it was betrayal, the kind that eats at your chest until breathing hurts. I thought about confronting Lena 100 times, but every time I imagined her face, her smile, her laughter, her pretending to care, my stomach twisted. We'd been friends since college. She was the one who helped me through everything, breakups, job interviews, even my dad's funeral. I trusted her more than anyone, and now, she was the reason I couldn't sleep at night. 3 days passed before I finally decided I needed to see her, not to fight, but to understand, because a part of me still couldn't believe she'd do this to me. When I reached her apartment, everything looked normal. The same white door, the same flower pot she always forgot to water. I knocked. My hands were trembling so badly I had to grip my phone to keep them steady. The door opened, and there she was, Lena, smiling like nothing had happened. "Alic, oh my God, I was just about to call you," she said, pulling me into a hug. I froze. That same scent, vanilla and jasmine, the one I smelled in Ryan's apartment. It hit me like a slap. I stepped back. "You were..." "Yeah," she said quickly. "You've been so quiet lately. Is everything okay?" Her voice sounded sweet, too sweet, like she was acting. I looked at her, really looked, and that's when I saw it, guilt flickering behind her eyes, just for a second before she hit it with another fake smile. "I know," I said softly. Her smile faded. "Know what? About you and Ryan." For a second, the world went silent. Even the air between us felt heavy. Lena's face turned pale. She tried to speak, but no words came out. Then finally, she said, "Alic, please, it's not what you think." I laughed. It was a broken, bitter sound. "Then what is it, Lena? Because from where I'm standing, it looks exactly like what I think." Tears filled her eyes. "I didn't mean for it to happen. I swear, I wanted to believe her. I really did. But every memory I had with her suddenly felt fake. The late night talks, the sleepovers, the promises of always having each other's back, all lies." "How long?" I asked. She hesitated. "A few months." "Months?" My voice cracked. "You've been lying to me for months." She reached for my hand, but I pulled away. "You don't understand," she whispered. "It wasn't supposed to be like this." "Then tell me what it was supposed to be," I snapped. Her eyes darted away. "I didn't know how to tell you. He came to me one night. You two were fighting. He said you didn't love him anymore. He looked so broken, Alic. I just felt sorry for him." I cut in. "So you comforted him, in bed?" She flinched. "It wasn't like that, but it was, and we both knew it." The truth stung sharper than I expected, because somewhere deep inside, I realized she wasn't the only one who broke something I had to. I had ignored the signs, the distance, the moments Ryan stopped holding my hand or stopped looking me in the eyes. Still, that didn't excuse what they did. "I trusted you, Lena," I said quietly. "You were my sister." Tears ran down her cheeks. "I know, and I hate myself every day for it." For a second, I thought I saw real regret in her eyes, but it didn't matter. The damage was done. I turned to leave, but then she said something that made me stop. "He's not who you think he is." Her voice was trembling. I turned back slowly. "What do you mean?" She hesitated, biting her lip. "Ryan's been lying to both of us." My heart skipped. "Both of us?" She nodded. "He told me he and you broke up months ago. He said you were seeing someone else, that you moved on." I didn't want to believe him, but he showed me messages, screenshots. I blinked, confused. "What messages?" She shook her head. "Messages from your number. You telling him you didn't love him anymore, that it was over." I felt my whole body go cold. "Lena, I never sent anything like that." "I know," she said quietly. "I think he faked them." For a moment, my mind couldn't process it. Ryan, faking messages, manipulating both of us. It sounded insane, but the more I thought about it, the more it made sense. He'd always been careful, always knew how to twist stories, always played the victim when things didn't go his way. Suddenly, it hit me. This wasn't just a love triangle. This was a setup. I felt sick. He wanted us to hate each other. Lena nodded, crying. "He said you were obsessed, that you kept showing up at his place, begging him to come back. He made me believe he was the one who got hurt." I sank onto her couch, feeling my legs go weak. How could one person create so much destruction and make both of us the villains in each other's eyes? That's when I realized something darker was hiding beneath all of this. Ryan didn't just betray me. He controlled everything. The lies, the messages, even our emotions. And suddenly, I wasn't just heartbroken, I was scared. Because if he could fake messages, what else was he capable of? That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying every moment, every detail, and deep down, one thought refused to leave my mind. If Ryan could manipulate both of us, this easily, maybe, just maybe, this wasn't the first time he'd done something like this. And something told me, it wouldn't be the last. That night, sleep wasn't even a possibility. I lay there, staring at the ceiling, my heart racing so fast it felt like it might burst. Every word Lena said kept echoing in my head. He's not who you think he is. He faked the messages. He lied to both of us. I couldn't shake it. Everything I thought I knew about Ryan started to collapse in my mind, one memory at a time. The charming smile, the kind words, the late night talks about trust and loyalty. All of it felt like a well-rehearsed performance stopped by morning. I knew one thing for sure. I needed proof. I wasn't going to cry anymore. I wasn't going to let him manipulate me into silence. If Ryan had really faked those messages, I'd find out. I grabbed my laptop and started digging. Emails, old chats, backups, anything that could connect to him. But the deeper I searched, the more I realized how careful he had been. No clues, no mistakes. Every suspicious thing had been deleted or hidden. It was like he knew. I'd go looking someday. Then I remembered something months ago. Ryan borrowed my old phone just for a day because his had broken. At the time, I didn't think twice about it. But now, my stomach twisted. What if that was when he copied my data? I searched the drawers until I found that phone. It was dead, dusty, forgotten. I plugged it in and waited. When it finally turned on, I opened the messaging app, and there they were. Messages I didn't remember sending. Messages to Ryan. At first glance, they looked normal, but as I scrolled, I realized they were wrong. They were messages I would never write. Cold, distant, cruel. And at the bottom of the thread, one line made my hands start shaking. Just leave me alone, Ryan. I don't love you anymore. I didn't send that. I knew I didn't. I checked the timestamps, they matched the same week. Lena said he showed her the screenshots. It wasn't just a hunch anymore. He really had faked everything. My chest felt tight, and tears started falling before I even realized it. It wasn't just heartbreak anymore. It was humiliation. I'd been lied to, manipulated, and turned against my best friend. And for what? To make himself the victim. I thought about calling Lena, but something stopped me. Because if Ryan could fake my messages once, what else could he twist? Then, something strange happened. A notification popped up on that old phone. A backup restoration message I had never seen before. It said, Cloud Sync, Ryan's device linked 6 months ago. My blood ran cold. He had synced my phone to his account. That meant he could access everything. My texts, photos, even my location. The thought made me feel sick. He had been watching me without my knowledge, tracking me, reading my messages, and worse, I'd had no idea. I backed away from the phone like it was something dangerous. I didn't know what to do. Part of me wanted to run straight to the police. But another part, the louder part, was scared no one would believe me. Because, on the surface, Ryan was perfect, charming, well-spoken. The kind of guy who smiled at neighbors and helped old ladies cross the street. But now, I saw what was really behind that smile. And I wasn't the first person to see it. That evening, I couldn't stop myself. I opened social media and typed his name. Post after post appeared. But one caught my attention. A woman named Mara had written, "If you ever meet a man named Ryan K., run, he ruined my life." My heart nearly stopped. I clicked on her profile and scrolled through her posts. Every one of them was a story, a different version of the same nightmare, gaslighting, lies, manipulation, fake screenshots. It was him. I sent her a message immediately. "Hi, I think I know who you're talking about. His name is Ryan, right?" She replied within minutes. "If you're another one of his girlfriends, I'm so sorry." My hands trembled as I typed. "What did he do to you?" She told me everything. How he'd convinced her that her friends were talking behind her back. How he'd sent her fake messages from their numbers. How he'd made her believe she couldn't trust anyone, not even her own mind. By the time I finished reading, my body felt cold all over. This wasn't just a toxic relationship. It was psychological warfare. I stared at the phone, trying to make sense of it all. How many women had he done this to? How many lives had he quietly destroyed while pretending to be the victim? Suddenly, I remembered something else. Lena mentioned once that Ryan had another girlfriend before me, someone who moved away suddenly and never spoke to anyone again. At the time, I thought it was just gossip. Now, I wasn't so sure. I searched that girl's name, Natalie Brooks, and there it was, a missing person report from 2 years ago. Last seen with her boyfriend, Ryan K. I dropped the phone. My heart felt like it had stopped beating. This wasn't just manipulation anymore. Something darker was hiding beneath all of this. The man I thought I loved wasn't just a liar. He was dangerous. And as that realization hit me, a message notification flashed on my screen from an unknown number. It said, "You shouldn't have looked, Alic." My hands went numb. I stared at the message, my heart pounding in my ears. How did he know? Was he watching me right now? I slowly turned toward my window. The street outside was empty, but for a split second, I thought I saw a shadow move. That's when I realized this wasn't over, not even close, because Ryan wasn't done with me yet. After that message, "You shouldn't have looked," I couldn't breathe. It was like all the air in the room vanished. My hands went cold, my body started shaking, and for a moment I forgot how to move. I just sat there staring at the screen, hoping maybe it was a mistake, a prank, a coincidence. But deep down, I knew it wasn't. No one else could have sent that. Only Ryan knew what I'd been looking for. He was watching me. I stood up, my legs trembling, and looked around my apartment. Every noise, every creak made me jump. The hum of the refrigerator, the ticking clock, the faint sound of rain outside. All of it felt wrong, like the world itself was holding its breath. I went to the window and carefully pulled the curtain back. The street below was quiet, wet from rain, empty, but something in me whispered, "He's there." I don't even remember locking the door. I just remember moving from window to window, making sure every latch was shut, every curtain closed. My mind was racing in every direction. Should I call the police? Should I tell Lena? Should I leave town? But then another thought hit me. If Ryan could hack into my phone once, he could easily be watching what I was doing now. If I called someone, he'd hear. If I left, he'd know. That realization made me feel trapped, not just in my apartment, but inside my own life, like there was no escape. Hours passed. I couldn't eat, couldn't sit still. I just kept pacing, listening, waiting for something to happen. Every time my phone buzzed, my heart nearly stopped. I finally turned it off and shoved it under a pillow like that could protect me somehow. But around midnight, something happened that made my blood run cold. The TV turned on by itself. The screen flickered to life, bright in the darkness, and for a second, I thought it was just a glitch. But then the volume turned up, slow, steady. My reflection in the screen looked small and terrified. And then I saw it. On the TV screen wasn't a show. It was my living room. The same room I was standing in. The same couch. The same lamp. It was showing me. I froze. It was a live feed. Someone was watching me through a hidden camera. My chest felt like it was collapsing. My eyes scanned every corner of the room, searching for the source. And then I saw it, a small black dot, tucked into the bookshelf, a camera lens. I ran to it, ripped it out, and threw it across the room. My breathing was so fast it hurt. How long had it been there? How long had he been watching me? I felt dirty, violated, like every moment of my life had been stolen from me. That was when I made a decision. I wasn't going to be his victim anymore. I packed a bag, grabbed my keys, and ran out of the apartment. The night was cold and silent. Every sound made me flinch. Footsteps, car doors, wind. I drove aimlessly for an hour, not even sure where I was going. I just knew I couldn't stay there, not where he could reach me. Eventually, I stopped at a small motel off the highway. It was old, quiet, and empty, but I didn't care. I just needed somewhere to breathe. I checked in under a fake name, paid in cash. The woman at the desk didn't ask questions, and I didn't offer answers. Inside the tiny room, I finally sat on the edge of the bed and stared at the floor. The silence felt heavy, but safe. For the first time in days, I wasn't being watched, or at least, I hoped I wasn't. I opened my bag and pulled out my old phone again. Part of me wanted to smash it, but another part wanted to know how far this went. I turned it on, heart pounding, and went straight to the storage folder. There were dozens of recordings, video clips, screenshots, my messages, my calls, my photos. He'd been saving everything. Each file was dated, labeled. Some went back to the very beginning of our relationship. There was even one of me, sleeping. My hands went numb holding the phone. I wanted to cry, scream, run, but none of it would help. The truth was too big now, too dark. And then, in the middle of those files, I saw something that stopped my heart. A folder named Backups Alic_2. Inside, there were photos of me, but not ones I remembered. Different clothes, different lighting, different days, and in every one of them, I wasn't looking at the camera. He had been near me when I didn't know, in my home, at work, in the park. He was always there. I closed the laptop and backed away like it might explode. The motel room felt smaller by the second, the air thicker, harder to breathe. I turned off the lights and sat by the door, listening for any sound outside. But what scared me most wasn't the silence. It was the thought that maybe Ryan wasn't watching me through a screen anymore. Maybe he was closer. At around 3 a.m., I finally drifted into a half-sleep, but something woke me up a little later. A soft sound, like gravel crunching outside. I sat up slowly, every nerve in my body on fire. Then, a shadow moved past the window. I held my breath. It stopped, turned, and for a moment, I could swear I saw him. Ryan. He was just standing there watching. I didn't move. I didn't scream. I just sat there frozen until the shape disappeared. When I finally gathered the courage to look again, he was gone. But I knew what that meant. He had found me. And if he found me once, he could do it again. I didn't sleep after that. I couldn't. Every sound outside the motel made my heart jump. The wind against the window, the hum of the vending machine, even my own breath felt too loud. I sat there in the dark, holding the phone like a weapon, waiting for something to happen. When morning came, I thought maybe I'd imagined it all. The shadow, the fear, the feeling of being watched. But when I went outside to get some air, I saw tire marks in the dirt near my car, fresh ones, and a cigarette butt, still half burned. Ryan didn't smoke, not until after we broke up. That was when I knew he had been there. I wanted to run again, pack my things, disappear completely, but something inside me stopped. Running hadn't saved me before. He always found me, always knew where I was, so this time, I decided I wasn't going to hide. I was going to end it. I drove back to my apartment that afternoon. My hands were shaking on the steering wheel, but my mind was clear. If Ryan wanted to watch me, fine. Let him. I was done being scared. When I walked into the apartment, the air felt heavy, like the walls were holding secrets. The curtains were half open. A small crack in the window let the wind in, and there, on the table, was a single white envelope. My name was written on it, just Alic. Inside, there was a USB drive, nothing else. I plugged it into my laptop with trembling hands. The screen lit up, and a single video file appeared. It was titled, "For You." I pressed play. At first it was just static, then, a blurry image appeared. A man standing in a dimly lit room. Ryan. He looked different, tired, unshaven, almost broken. He started talking. His voice was calm, too calm. He said he knew I was scared, that he never meant to hurt me, that everything he did, the cameras, the tracking, the messages, was just to protect me. My stomach turned. Protect me from what? Then, his tone changed. He said, "You were supposed to love me back. You said forever." And for a few seconds, he just stared into the camera, eyes wide, empty, lost. The video ended with him whispering, "If I can't have you, no one will." The screen went black. That was the moment I realized what kind of danger I was really in. He wasn't watching me anymore. He was hunting me. I called the police right away. My hands were shaking so bad I could barely hold the phone. They told me to stay inside, lock the doors, and wait for them to arrive. I did, but while I was waiting, the power went out, total darkness. My heart started pounding so loud I could hear it echoing in my ears. I grabbed a flashlight from the kitchen drawer and pointed it around the room, every corner, every shadow. Then, I heard it. Footsteps, soft, slow, steady, inside the apartment. I whispered his name, hoping maybe it wasn't real. No answer, just silence, and then, another step. The flashlight flickered. I could barely breathe. I moved backward toward the front door, trying not to make a sound. And then, in the beam of the light, I saw him. Ryan. Standing in the hallway, his face pale, his eyes glassy, his mouth curved into something that wasn't quite a smile. He looked like someone who had finally lost everything, and wanted to take the world down with him. I froze. He said nothing, just stared at me like I was a ghost. Then he whispered, Why did you stop loving me? I didn't answer. I couldn't. My voice was gone. He took one slow step toward me, then another. I could see something in his hand, a knife, glinting in the faint light. That was it. The final moment. Fight or die. I grabbed the first thing I could, a metal lamp, and swung it as hard as I could. It hit him across the arm, and he stumbled. I ran to the door, fumbled with the lock, but before I could open it, he grabbed me by the hair and pulled me back. We fell hard. The lamp crashed. The knife clattered across the floor. Everything turned into noise, screaming, glass breaking, his voice shouting words I couldn't even understand, and then silence again. The next thing I remember was the flashing red and blue lights. The police, they pulled Ryan away, shouting orders, but his eyes never left mine. He smiled, a slow, empty smile, and said, "You'll miss me." I didn't. They told me later that Ryan had been following me for months, tracking my phone, bugging my apartment, even hacking my security cameras. He had a whole system built around me, a life that existed only in his head. The cameras, the messages, the videos, all part of his obsession. They took him away that night, and I never saw him again. But even now, sometimes when I walk past a mirror or a dark window, I still feel it, that prickling at the back of my neck, the sense that someone's there. Watching. I moved to a new city after that, changed my number, deleted every account I ever had, and for a while, I thought maybe I was free. But freedom feels strange when you've lived in fear for so long. Sometimes it's quiet, to quiet. And every time my phone buzzes, even now, my heart skips a beat, because no matter how far I run, a part of me still hears his voice, whispering from the shadows, "You shouldn't have looked." For weeks, I couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw that night again, his face, the look in his eyes when I told him I knew everything. The silence that followed, heavy and endless, still echoes in my head. It's strange how the body heals faster than the heart. My bruises faded, but the weight inside me stayed. It was the kind of pain that doesn't scream anymore. It just sits quietly and waits for you to feel it again. I remember standing in front of the mirror one morning. My hair was a mess, my eyes swollen, but there was something different, a kind of strength I had never seen before. I whispered to myself, "You're still here, Alic, you're still breathing." And that one sentence felt like victory, because for the first time, surviving was enough. The days after everything ended were quiet, not peaceful, just quiet. People talked, they whispered about what happened. Some believed me, some didn't. But I stopped trying to explain. I realized something. The truth doesn't always need to be defended. It just exists, and someday, it finds its own way out. I moved out of that apartment. The walls, they're new to much. I packed my things slowly, one box at a time, like I was peeling away pieces of a life that didn't belong to me anymore. The hardest thing wasn't leaving the place. It was leaving the version of me that thought love meant sacrifice. That version of me would have done anything to make things right, even if it meant breaking herself, but not anymore. I wasn't her now. I couldn't be. I started going on long walks in the evenings. At first, I hated the silence, but soon, I began to hear something in it. My own thoughts. It's strange how healing works. It doesn't come all at once. It comes in pieces like sunlight breaking through clouds after a long storm. Some days, I still felt broken. Other days, I caught myself laughing again, and that was enough. That one night I found myself looking at old photos. There we were smiling, happy, pretending. I didn't cry this time. I just stared for a while and then quietly said, "Thank you." Not because he deserved it, but because he taught me something I could never have learned otherwise. Pain has a way of shaping you. It burns away the illusions, and what's left is real. I realized something else too. Forgiveness isn't about them, it's about you. It's about choosing peace over bitterness. I won't lie, I haven't fully forgiven him, and maybe I never will. But I have forgiven myself for staying too long, for loving too deeply, for not knowing better, and that's enough for now. Months passed, I got a new job, met new people. Life slowly began to look normal again, but deep down, I wasn't the same Alic anymore. I was quieter, wiser, and maybe a little colder, but I was free, and freedom, after everything, felt like the sweetest thing I had ever tasted. Thought sometimes. People ask me if I'd ever love again. I smile and say, yes, but differently. Because now I know, love should never make you smaller, it should never silence you, or make you question your worth. Real love doesn't demand your pain, it protects your peace. And when I tell my story now, I don't tell it to get pity. I tell it because I know someone out there is listening. Someone sitting in the dark, feeling like they can't make it through. To that person, I want to say, you can, you will, the storm will pass. It always does. Looking back, I don't hate him anymore. He's just a chapter in a book I no longer read. The story of my life didn't end with him. It began after him. And maybe that's the real message here. Sometimes, life breaks you to show you what you're made of. Sometimes, you have to lose everything to find yourself. So if you ever find yourself standing in the ashes of what once was, don't be afraid to start again, because healing isn't forgetting, it's remembering and still choosing to move forward. That night changed everything for me, but not in the way I thought. It didn't destroy me, it rebuilt me, and now, when I look in the mirror, I don't see the girl who was hurt, I see the woman who survived. And if you're hearing my story right now, maybe it's not just mine anymore, maybe it's yours too, because the truth is, we all have storms, but we also all have the strength to rise after them. So the question is, will you let the pain define you, or will you let it free you?